For the next question, we'll consider a case where we have to use the product rule, the quotient rule, and the power rule. Voila. We have 2b cubed over ba to the 4 times a to the 4 quantity cubed. In these questions, I want you to simplify, I want you to do the dividing last. So I want you to simplify the entire numerator, simplify the entire denominator. So our numerator stays the same, and our denominator becomes ba to the 4 times a to the 12. We do our power rule first. Well then, in our denominator we have b. We're also going to have a to the 16. So we'll have 2b cubed over b a to the 16. Well, let's think of our coefficient of b as being 1. We're now in a position to divide. 2 over 1 will keep us 2 over 1 for now. We have 3 factors of b in the numerator and 1 factor of b in the denominator. That means, in a sense, that the numerator wins, although that's not a very mathematical way of putting it. We know that the factors of b will remain in the numerator. How many of them? Well, 3 minus 1 equals 2. Now we have 0 factors of a in the numerator, but 16 factors of a in the denominator. That means the denominator will keep all 16 factors of a. So 3 minus 1 is 2, 16 minus 0 is 16, and we have 2b squared over 1a to the 16. But we don't normally show a coefficient of 1, so our final answer is 2b squared over a to the 16. For our last question in this section, we have x cubed y squared all over x to the 4y squared, quantity to the 4, times x to the 4 quantity squared. That entire denominator is to the exponent 4. In a situation as complex as this, we're going to begin inside the large bracket and then we're going to work out to this last exponent. So our first move is to multiply the 4 times the 4 and the 4 times the 2. We keep the numerator the same, and we have x cubed y squared all over x to the 16 y to the 8. Then we multiply this 4 with this 2, and we have x to the 8. Now what we should do next is simplify this bracket. So we have x cubed y squared over x to the 24 y to the 8. Now that entire amount is going to be raised to the exponent 4. So our next move now is to multiply 4 times 24 and 4 times 8. We get x cubed y squared all over x to the 96 y to the 32. Okay, now at this point we know that our next move is to simplify everything. It might help us to think of the coefficient here as a 1 and the coefficient here as a 1. So in our next line we have a coefficient of 1 over a coefficient of 1. 96 factors of x in the denominator and 3 factors of x in the numerator mean that we have 93 factors of x in the denominator. 32 factors of y in the denominator and 2 factors of y in the numerator mean that we have 30 factors of y in the denominator. In a sense, what we're doing is we're looking to see which has more. In the case of x, the denominator has more, and in the case of y, the denominator has more. And once we figure out which one has more, we know where those two variables are going to end up. We then simply subtract the exponents to see how many factors are left over. Now again, we don't normally write 1 if it's the coefficient of a larger term. Of course, we have to write 1 if it's the only amount in the numerator. So what we end up with is 1 over x to the 93 y to the 30. That's our final answer.